Alright, so I'm back. I had a really rough 3.5 hour stream earlier where all I wanted to do was make the ponds, well, the deep parts of the pond, some little 3x3 squares, be evenly and uniformly distributed across a pond in the center of the map. And you know what? The random map scripting engine simply could not do it. See, when I started making isolated lakes, I wanted to make something that was tutorial, something that anybody could do. You would use the existing tools in the random map scripting editor, the existing methods, all of the documentation. I wanted to make something that any person could pick up and modify and understand and follow and have it be great. Because I really just wanted to get the basics down for Sizu. But the truth is, Sizu's been waiting for me for months to finish this map for him. And although he is probably curious about the map and he's curious about how random map scripting works, I also have to recognize that not everybody wants to learn how to map script or has the ability to learn how to do it immediately. So, in the interest of getting out the best quality work possible, I decided to cave, and I'm going to make this map my way, the Tech Chariot way. It's a little bit of a sellout to the tools that I've already created, and I say this a lot. It sounds a little bit arrogant, perhaps, but it's true. The workmanship for this map will be without equal in the Age of Empires community. So that for every map that I make, being essentially 95% of it is compiled by an external computer program and then written to the script file. So I'm very proud of that work, and you know what? I set all that up for a reason. I developed the competency and the capability of doing that for a reason. So we're going to go make it work. Unfortunately, Sizu will have a harder time modifying it if he ever wanted to do so independently. But hey, every once in a while, it's nice to pat yourself on the shoulder and say that you did something no one else could do. So we're going to do that. I think we had the basics of the instruction covered, but to accomplish really advanced things, we're going to need the advanced tools that I developed. So we're kind of caving to the dark side a little bit, but I kind of like being bad. So let's do it. So where are we at? The problem with isolated lakes, poor Sizu has waited so long, is, I mean, look at this. Look at these lakes. This isn't even, like, these three are all the way over here. This player could have a huge fishing advantage relative to this player over here. Whoever starts on this section. Sometimes when you generate it, yeah, it's just completely just not fair at all. Like, look at this. We can't even stop this. This is hideous. So, we are going to pull up the script file. Here is everything. And we're basically just going to delete it all. So, we'll go to a file, new text file, and we'll hit Control A, and we'll hit Control X, and we'll paste that in there, and then we'll save this. And this is our new isolated lakes file. So, start off with isolated lakes. Today's date. And I bet we can finish this in one session. That's how confident I am. It might be a very, very long session, but we'll just get it done. Because Sizu deserves it. He's been so patient. A random map concept by Sizu. scripted with scripted by Tech Chariot. Okay, so we need terrain generation section. We need elevation generation. Elevation will come first. Elevation, terrain. Objects generation. And then we'll put the land generation last. Land generation. We cannot do connections and we cannot do cliffs because we will simply have too many lands. So we'll need begin objects autoscribe, we'll need end objects autoscribe. And we will need land auto scribe. Okay, so those are all the basic things that we are going to need. Oh, we're going to need base terrain, and we'll just go grass for now. Alright, here we go. So this is our empty file. Cleared everything out. Now we're going to come over here to our GNU Octave file. We are going to want a manual land appendix, and I think we're going to try to do it where we have actually create player lands at the end. But we're going to emulate some stuff from Flautagano as well. So we'll get right on it here. So create player lands. Oh, we need to have a player setup section too. Oops. Constant L32 because L is our land creation command. And we're going to have random placement for now. Okay. So let's come back and let's take a look at what we've got here. So we have different base sizes for these player lands that we're creating. So we'll have to capture all of that. I think that we'll put in other zone avoidance distance as well. And if that doesn't work out, we can always remove it. I know that it will work in some situations. We just have to figure out what the trick is. We're basically going to copy all of this over, and we're going to have our GNU Octave code paste it at the end of the program automatically. So there we go, and we just have to copy that. So create player lands, terrain type DLC wet beach. So put that here. Cut this. We already have base elevation 0. What was this again? Circle radius? Alright, we will make ourselves another one for circle radius. Okay, we've already got clumping factor 30, base elevation 0, base size is going to be part of a conditional, so we'll put that down here somewhere. And this might not be the fastest way, but I know that it will work, and we won't have to keep on tweaking things, because computers are powerful. And I like power. Okay. Where are we going? So they will not have a land position. Other zone avoidance. It doesn't actually look like we had another zone avoidance here, but let's copy it out and put it where land position is. Alright. Base elevation 0, clumping factor 30. So we took care of all of that. Cut that out. Move this up. So base size and land percent now. And these are going to depend on, well, the size of the map. So the alternative to this is actually our Create Player Lands program, which we could use, but the one that's built into the game is a little bit more robust. It doesn't have as many options, but it's harder to screw up by selecting the wrong things in lobby. So we're going to copy this, and I'm going to paste that here. So if a tiny map, and then we'll cut that, and we'll paste that there, and do base size 6, land percent 4. And then we're going to need another one. So we'll actually copy this and we'll end our if statement here just so that we don't forget. Because if there's one thing that I hate, it's forgotten if statements. If statements that don't have an end at the end of them. Alright, end if. So then we'll copy this, and then we'll change it for the next one. So this is going to be else if, small map. Okay. And now we'll copy this. Oops, we don't need the end there. In fact, we do not want the end in this case. Else if medium map. Else if large map. Else if huge map. Huge map. And else if gigantic map. Alright, and then finally else. Okay. And now we need 6, 4, 7, and 8. 9 and 8. 9 and 10. 10 and 11. And 10 and 11. Okay, good. So we have that. That is a manual land appendix, and our code will stick this in at the end. Okay. It's a lot of lines. Hopefully we didn't mess that up somehow. We can actually copy this into the window if we want. And we do indeed have a manual land appendix. Gives it all right back, so that's good. Now, I actually think I'm going to keep this rounded rectangle, but I'm going to get rid of these circular variable lands and this random statement version 6. I'm going to comment out the create player lands, my own manual version of it. There we go. And command is just going to be, well, whatever this is. Okay. So we need to set some parameters. A lot of this is copied over from other things. So keep that in mind. We don't need a lot of this stuff. So we need AI, YI. I think these are all various terrain types of the different layers. So I think we can get rid of these. We have an RI declared of 12. I don't remember what A is, and I don't remember what Y is. So we're going to go look that up. And the angle is just going to be 0. So is that anywhere in here? No. This needs to be Isolated Lakes Land Generation by Tech Chariot 7/12/22. Okay. So let us read the notes on this. Okay. A is the longest length. AR is the aspect ratio. The radius on the corners. So the longest length, so A should be 2 times R. And we'll set R equal to 12. Y is the aspect ratio. So Y is equal to 1. And this is, we just want a circle. This is, in theory, this is capable of making a rounded rectangle, but I just want a circle. And we only need it to be one thing thick, but let's make it 2 just for good measure. Let's make sure that we don't have an issue. We don't want the land that we're going to be putting in the center to bleed through. That would be very awkward. Okay. So we're not going to make the terrain G, though. We're going to make the terrain GB for gravel beach. And the angle is, the TT is a terrain type, base elevation. Yeah, so the base elevation is just going to be 1 the whole way. Actually, let's make it 0 the whole way. Why would I make it 1? And the angle, we're just going to set that equal to 0 as well. Okay. So we're going to say that this is LR, which is our land ring, and we're just going to put LR there. And there's only one configuration possible, so when we run it through the random statement, it shouldn't require too much work. Preface, list, manual land appendix. Okay, let's go. So we should generate this, and we should get the player lands, and the player lands are going to be on DLC Wet Rock Beach, and then all of the lands for our rounded rectangle are going to be on GB, which is Gravel Beach. So we should be able to run this. RI undefined, 56. Oh, let's, the longest length, okay, there. Alright, what do we got here? 76. Really? Well, what is J equal to? J is equal to 2. So it should have only done one of these. We really don't have to configure this random statement. In fact, I don't want to. It'd be nice to just figure out what's wrong. Vertical dimension mismatch. Usually this is a result of something not being quite right. Command is indeed a structure with only one entry. Config is a cell with only one entry. So, I mean, maybe my memory has just failed me, and it's fine. Should be fine. If we had two possible configurations, this would surely work. But as it stands, we only have one. So I guess we will just comment this out. We'll comment this out. And we'll comment this out. And we'll literally just make this, we'll duplicate this line, comment this out, and then say that this is the land ring right here. That's all that we want, just this LR. Although, okay, I know what the problem is. This is commented out right here, and it can't be. This is object data. We need this. This processor is important. It converts it into lines of code. So, of course it's not working in the random statement, because it doesn't have that. That was commented out. Alright, let's run it again. RI 56. Alright, too many Control-C's. There we go. Something's missing here. This should not be just kind of like that. This should be equal to something. And that something, I think, should get placed in here. Let me pull up Flowtagano. See what's going on. Structure is equal to the processor acting on that. Oh, Alright. Well, how's that? There we go. Okay, good. So once we remember how to configure everything, it runs in a little over 2 seconds. So we need to define GB for the gravel beach. Thankfully, we can do that with this terrain spreadsheet here. And beach, we could say DLC gravel beach, but we're going to have a lot of these lands now. So there we go, 108. Let's try to avoid it. Okay, so constant GB for gravel beach and 108. Save it. And then you'll see that we have all of these gravel beaches that are being written here. And this should be in a circle in the center of the map. And then we have our create player lands beyond that. And it seems to have written that successfully as well. So that's good. Let's generate it. Alright. So, no land growth. And it looks like our lake is a little bit small. But maybe our lake simply looks small because we have no land growth from the player lands at all. So why are the player lands not growing properly? Oh, do I need to put behavior version 2 at the top? No, although that is important. What else did I have in here? Other zone avoidance distance by 10. Is that the problem? Alright, well, let's test it. Let's see what happens when I comment out the other zone avoidance distance. Maybe it's afraid of those other lands, and therefore it's not growing properly. No, that's not the issue. I didn't think that would be the issue, but I wanted to test it. Alright, we are on the tiny map size, right? Yes. Okay. What happens if I restore this other zone avoidance distance to 10? I never gave these a zone. It still shouldn't matter. But let us say that the land percent is 100 now. Still no land growth. Why? Land percent 4. Create player lands. It works. Let's copy this and add this while we're at it. This is never a problem. Come on. Well, let's just try it on a different size. Maybe we'll try it on giant size with 8 players and see if it produces the same effect. Yes. The same effect is produced, and also the pond looks a little small in the center. So let's see if we can get these to have land growth associated with them. So let us try an experiment where we take this create player lands, cut that, and we put it up here. What happens if we put it first? Okay, now they grow properly. Weird. Very weird. So, we will come back to our code, and we will put manual land prefix, I guess, and we will manual land prefix before the list. And we will keep that appendix around because I have a feeling we're going to need it later. Appendix. But for now, we'll just make it an empty matrix. We'll rerun it. We'll confirm that we don't have to manually tinker with the script in order to get it to work. So we've just run it. It wiped out all of our changes that were below land autoscribe and wrote its own thing. And now we're going to check that out. Okay, good. So it appears to still be working. And we have a giant map size here. So we need to expand the size of our ring, because I do think that this is a little too small. So to do that, we are going to increase this radius here. So let's try increasing this radius to 18 and see what happens. It'll spend a little bit more time thinking. Okay, it's done. And that should get a little bit bigger now. Alright, good. Let's see what happens when we generate it on tiny size with 2 players. With 2 players. Okay. It's about right. Try to push the limits a little bit more, just because I'm a big risk taker. I'm a big believer in. Oh, actually, no. No, let's not, because we are going to randomize this ring. We're going to make it a little bit choppy and uneven looking. Otherwise, people complain that it's not organic and naturey and whatnot. So, to do that, instead of RMS processor v4, we have another RMS processor in our library that's like random coordinate. So it's this one right here. So random coordinate combined LPM, exp, and then tolerance. So the tolerance is really what we need. Okay. And we're going to go plus or minus 2, I think. So all this is going to do is it's going to randomize the land positions a little bit, by ±2 to be exact. So the more that this number is, the choppier it will look. Right now it looks perfect. Okay. We might have to do a couple of these to keep it clean on the inside, but to make sure that we have a smooth transition. But let's run it now, and we'll see the effect on the border, on the beach, that this has. So you'll note, we go in here and check this now. All of these are random between ±2. So this is 70 ±2, and this is 51 ±2. So this should look choppy now. Nice. So it looks a little bit more organic, you know, it looks like a proper beach. We'll do a couple of more generations to make sure that we don't have pockets that are formed on the inside. A little bit of grass here, and I'm okay with that. But our next big thing is we're going to put in a pending land immediately or directly in the center of this. It's going to have a very large base size. Okay. Yeah. Looks fine, looks reasonable. Okay. So right now what I'm debating is, do I want to put another land here, or do I want to just completely fill this with little lands? Because now I'm going to copy a technique that I used on Flautigano. And this is going to be the manual land appendix. Alright, so we'll copy that, and we'll paste it here. And this one has 100 of them, so we want base size of 1, terrain type of DLC water 5, number of tiles 1, I think, min placement distance 9, and then we don't need all this start random here. What we need, from some testing that I did, is, where is it? Alright, I guess I deleted it in my frustration. Or maybe it's in, no. That's fine, you can rederive it. Top border, let's say 40. Bottom border, 40. Left border, 40. And right border, 40. And this will constrain these lands to be in a specific place. And this min placement distance 9 will keep them 9 tiles away from other lands. Okay. So let's see what happens when I run this. Who knows, there's probably some typo somewhere. But we'll see. Oh. We need... we're going to call this MLP. It's a little shorter. For manual land prefix, this is MLA. So then we're going to have MLP. And MLA. Okay. So it's all set. Let's see what happens. So they spawn mostly outside of the span. Okay. But there are a couple that like to spawn in the middle here. But I also may have chosen bad numbers too. So 8 players on an 8-player map. Okay, the randomness is also a little bit much. So I think the first thing that I need to do is I need to get a generic land going first of all that fills in this entire space here. And it looks like there are some pockets too, which I don't necessarily want. So let's do a couple of things. Let's make this like this. And I think each of these are about too thick. So instead of creating LR here, let's just cut that, get rid of this. And the outer one will make ±2, just like that. But it's only going to be 1 thick. And let us suppress this as well. We won't be needing this right now. So this will thin that ring up. And it'll be just as choppy on the outside. As you can see. However, we can do this again. So A, we had so we are going to have RO, AO, Y is going to be the same. Oops. We have RI equal RO minus 2. AO equal, or AI equal 2 times Ri and we'll do plus or minus 1 for this. So this is O. Oops. This is I. And then one more. And then the last one, let's just do S for smooth. So Rs is equal to Ri minus 2. And As is equal to 2 times Rs. So we'll copy this again. And S and S. Save it. This is going to be plus or minus 0. So we don't even need RMS processor random coordinates. We can just have RMS processor v4. It is. We're on the fourth version. So let's also do the different rings with different amounts of variation. Okay. So as you can see, it starts out choppy at the edges, and then it gets smoother as we go towards the center. Which I like. Okay. Now, is there really a good way of fitting those lands inside of this randomly? Yeah, this might even be a little too choppy still, but we'll keep it for now. I like it. So in our manual land appendix, let us create a land at this exact position that attempts to fill 100% of the map, but can't. So we'll do MLA. Okay. And we'll need to copy a lot of this stuff here. So let's get to it. We'll copy this, and then we'll copy all up to here. We'll get rid of the other zone avoidance distance. We don't need it. It's not create player lands, it's just create land. And the type of land is going to be the gravel beach. And the land position is going to be 50-50. Base elevation 0, clumping factor 30, and where's that? And then land percent 100. So there's no base size specified yet. Land percent 100. So it's going to try to fill up the entire map. It's obviously not going to because there are other lands in the way. But this will be good for now. So this is part of our strategy. Man, I'm so pro right now. Why can't you guys all be watching me for this stream? It looks even better than it did last time, frankly. Okay. So let's regenerate. And then when we hit go, this should be completely filled in. Now, this land has not grown at all. Why not? Let's take a look. So we got all of our circle lands here. Create lands. Base elevation 0, land percent 100. So create land. Okay. And we will fix that here too. Alright, there we go. So it completely fills in the gaps. Now let's do a couple of like housekeeping things. Just, you know, for fun. Let me indulge myself. Alright, let's generate this elevation. Okay, I see. Just because I like to see progress. I like to feel like the map is making progress, even if it's not. So we'll elevate that grass. There we go. You could even make it mud, honestly. I would almost prefer that. And then we'll change the grass. We could make it non-navigable. Non-navigable gravel beach, really. That's what we had before. And NGB. So it blends in at least. And base terrain NNGB. And then in the terrain section, get rid of all that, but we will allow all of this work to be copied over, because it's not very controversial, it's just terrains. Terrains are really just about beauty. They don't, functionally terrains don't do much for a map, but they're easily what you could spend the most time working on. What's going on? Oh, right, NNGB is not defined. So it's not doing anything with it because it doesn't know what it is. So let's go define that. Beach, non-navigable, wet gravel, 81. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. So it is successfully elevating. But it's not generating the mud terrain or the moorland terrain or anything else. NNGB. It's being used all in the proper places. Oh, right, because mud is not defined. Well, shoot, you know what? Let's just define all of the terrains. Let's not waste too much more time. So this is everything that we could have. Mud is number 76, and reed forest is 92. Oh, okay. Let's get rid of that. Bam. Okay. Now this might look very circular, but remember that some of this is non-navigable beach terrain as well. So we went into terrains at this point and we say that we wanted to emulate a lot of this stuff here. Central pond layering. We'll copy this too. DLC new shallow. Yeah, we can comment a lot of this out, but let's comment. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. And then we'll keep the rest. So you can see how, jagged that looks. We might actually, for the purposes of redundancy, we may even want to put in additional duplicate demands of these duplicate shallow commands, so we can get all those little pockets. So I think we've only got one right now. The mangrove shallow is in the middle. So, right off the bat, you can tell this is approximately an appropriate size. All right. So if we did like 2 or 3 of these, it would probably look a lot better. So let's keep this seed and then generate that. And as you can see, it's filled in some of the little bays here. Now, as to whether or not you can get a ship through there, let's take a look. You can certainly dock this, because there's beach terrain there. And you could even, dock all the way out to here if you wanted to. But what about ships? See, you got to be careful. Can't, these are little ponds. And the ships might not be able to travel across that much thick space, so be careful. That's the moral of the story. There's a little bit of space there. Might even want a few more of these. We'll keep this seed again, generate it, and see what happens over here. So we do have a little bit more going on. And if we copy this again... Oh, well, shoot. One clump? No wonder. Man, me and my assumptions. 9320. Set scaling by groups. Alright, well, that should make it a lot better. We only might need one or two in this case. Yeah, that's much better. Let's repeat that a couple more times, and that should be more than enough. Okay. So now the units, canoe. I guess the canoe could go a couple places over here. But, yeah, you have to be careful that you don't dock too close to the center here. Like, you don't want to build your dock here because then your ships will not be able to get out. Okay. Do a couple more. Just copy this over one more time. And then a couple more random generations. There we go. So a rough coastline, which I like. So now begs the question, how do we get these neutral lands to show up in here? Like, how do we get the random deep water areas to be accessible and equally distributed among the players? So I'm just kind of thinking about this. I don't know that there's really a good way, except to write over what's already been done here. So I think we're going to create a circular arrangement of lands with another function that I didn't think that we would need, but so I got rid of the line of code invoking it. But now that the more that I think about it, the more I think it's appropriate to use here, and that is circular random land, I believe, is the name for it. And we will arrange these fish in a circular configuration. It won't belong to any one player, and there will be no land growth for it, and it'll have a small base size, and it'll have all kinds of clocking, and we'll probably put 2 of them in there. But I think it'll be good. I think we'll be very proud of what's produced. So, without further ado, let's let's dive into it. Yeah, this is gonna be really beautiful. He's gonna be blown away by this. So we're gonna ignore this for now. This is kind of sketchy. Whoops. It'd be fun, but it's just too unreliable. And we're not even going to care about putting it here. Because, well, actually, this is probably the right place to put it. Because it'll just get tacked on at the end. So that's what we'll do here. So, let's look up the function. It's, let's see. Something like, I've got all kinds of junk in. I really need to take the time. I really need to take the time to organize this. So it is going to be circular variable lands right here. And we'll open this up in another window. And we got a base elevation, a base size, any kind of like linear slop to it. Otherwise, it's essentially configured exactly like create player lands, if you will. Now, this function is a little out of date because it doesn't have the ability to specify land percent. Land percent is not in there at all, would be my guess. Yeah, land percent 0. Which is good. Terrain type CT. Oh, okay. Circular, terrain 1, etc., etc. So I'll have to define that at the beginning. But let's copy this for now. And add that to isolated lakes here. So it's going to be CVL, circular variable lands. CVL, all caps, so I can see that it's an L and not a 1. And base elevation is, we're going to emulate this format right here, 0. Base size, we're going to make that, let's just make that 1 for now, or let's make it 3 for now. Delta is going to be 0. Okay, and then offset is by definition going to be 45. And once we get this how we'd like it, we can actually make multiples of these. And ADC, angular distance to centroid, is going to the other team is going to be 180. So in this way, everybody's going to get one fish, essentially. It's going to belong to them. Seed angle is going to be 0, but we can add multiple of these. Team bias is going to be 0, and it should be pretty primitive too. It's not going to matter very much. Radius is going to be, let's make it 15, and eccentricity, we're going to set it equal to 1. So, we are actually going to just add this in immediately after this. So we're not even going to set a variable for it. And we're just going to plug it in right here. Okay, and finally, we need to come up here to the top of this, and we need to define constant CVL1, CL1, and so on and so forth. So what is DLC Water 5? We'll find it right? Terrains. DLC water 5. Alright, it's 58. Okay. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. So this should define all of those terrains that are called out in that function. And now let's run it. So the way that this is these lands are always going to be in the same place every single time, but we can always add variability. Also, let's check our budget here and see how big our file is. Isolated lakes. Oh, it's only 125 kilobytes. Okay, so it's not bad. Alright, so something is being added out here. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look like it should be adding this at all. This is not even close. So let's take a look at the script and see what's going on. Isolated lakes. Okay, it's all normal. It's all normal. So it should be at the end of this. Okay, yeah, no randomness anymore. Terrain type, base size, land percent, 0. And then these positions are very large. Well, maybe not really. 50 and 50. It's the center of the map. So where did we mess up? The radius is the second to last argument. Is it? What is it doing here? And then it's assigning the gravel beach after that to that position. Exactly. It's not assigning them to players at all, which is a good thing. We don't need some of this logic in here too. We don't need anything about team positions because fundamentally these are just silly little lands that we're making in a circular pattern. We're using the program to do it. Whatever. You know what? It seems a little like overkill, don't you guys think? It seems like it's just not the right thing to do for this. Be cool to get it working, but all of this extra stuff is not needed. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's have two lists. Let's get rid of this. Fundamentally, we're already creating a circle here. We're creating it with rounded rectangle and it has all of these arguments associated with it. So what if we did that again, but we only took specific entries in it, and then we overwrote, if you will? That could work. If we just changed the terrain type in specific locations. So, before we RMS process this, let us actually cut this out entirely. Cut that, and we'll make that part of what is going to be known as command 1. And we'll set up a second structure. Really, I don't really think that we need to randomize this at all. But hear me out. So command 1 is there. So we got this, and this is what? PS or PC, we'll call it. PC. And we don't want to process it yet. So we'll pull it out of the processor. PC is perfect circle. So if we, let's just generate this PC real quick and inspect it. And we're not going to update the command at all. The map might look a little funky because it's not going to have that smooth line on the inside. Oh, right. Whoops. Sorry about that. So it takes a little bit of extra time to print stuff out. And will we still have... No. Okay, yeah, so it's going to look a little, kind of a little choppy and funky. A little even more so than usual, because it doesn't have that perfect circle cleaning it up on the inside. But really I did that just so that we can look at perfect circle here. What is perfect circle? Well, it's 424 points that were selected on the inside. And I think what I want to do is I believe that these points are evenly distributed. So in other words, I believe that if you started at point 1 and you went all the way to the end, and you, let's say that you picked 8 or 12 or however many points you wanted in between, those points would all be sort of evenly distributed angularly around the center of that circle. So how do we approach this? Well, let us find the size of that, because it might be different times. And we're going to have it be NXPC is going to be the size of that perfect circle. Okay, 424, and that's to be expected. So let's come up here and let's get rid of all this garbage. We don't want this. But we are going to create another constant, and we're going to call it like, we actually don't have to make it. It's fine. So we need to decide how many of these ponds we want to be evenly distributed. And let's say that we want 16 total. So we're going to do NF equals 16 for the number of fish. And then we're going to create a vector, and this is going to be indices, should we call it indices of interest, IOI, I think. All right, indices of interest. Okay. And that is going to be equal to the linspace of 1 to NXPC and then NF. So we're going to basically evenly distribute those indices. So these are going to be the indices of interest. So 424, oh right, NF equals 16. We want 16. So 424 divided by 16, and we're basically going to go, we got to, because these are going to be at the same place, so we have to do NF minus 1. No, that is not right. So let us instead do something different then. Let us do NXPC divided by NF. And let's just see where we're at there with that step. 26.5. Okay? So indices of interest is equal to 1, 2, so this is going to be the step is NXPC divided by NF, and we're going to go all the way up to NXPC. And let's see what we get here. See if this gives us the right indexing. So, so what is NXPC? I think it's 424, right? Yes. And that's good because at 424 we're the same as 1. So we actually want this to come about 27.5 short. So now we're going to round this because we can't take an index of a fraction. Indices must always be integer values. And then we'll look at it again. Okay, there we go. So we know that if we pull, or we believe that if we pull of this perfect circle, if we pull points at these indices, they will be approximately evenly radially, or no, not radially. Well, yes, radially. We know they'll all be the same radius because the lands that constitute the perfect circle all have the same radius. If they didn't, it would be some weird elliptical shape or something even uglier. We know that these are all angularly evenly distributed. So now we can go through this vector, and we can go in and manipulate PC, which is our perfect circle data, and we can change the terrain at these indices to be a terrain that's conducive for our fish. So let's do that then. So we have for j, no. We are already using j. So we'll convert this to k. K equals 1 plus 1. Alright, and we'll make this k up here. Cut this out and put this up here. So technically, this k is directly related to this loop. We really don't need this k, but we'll keep it to be consistent with convention. Okay, and then we gotta make sure we close that for loop. And so we'll say for j equals IOI. So for j equal to all of these different numbers here. Now, PC of j comma colon is going to be some things. First one is x coordinate, y coordinate, and then this is the terrain type. So we need to state that PC of j comma 3, the third column over, is equal to something different, is equal to DLC water 5. Okay? So let's just run this and hope that our cells and all of our indices are done properly. Oh, and let's make sure that we suppress the output for that. Okay, so now let's look at PC of 1, 1, 3. Or 1, colon, I should say. Ah, damn it. It's not the same. So PC of 2, colon, you can see that it's got this sort of stupid extra thing there. So let's try doing this instead. Let's add another curly bracket. And we'll just run this again. And see if that did the trick. So PC of 1, colon. Okay, looks promising. And PC of 2, colon. Okay, same setup. So I like it then. Now, we will, if we wanted to imbue this with randomness, we could do some kind of like, well, no, I don't want to touch that yet. Let's not talk about the randomness for it just yet. Okay, so we are modifying now this perfect circle such that we're replacing the terrain for some of the indices with DLC water 5. Now we can actually do this afterward. Cut this out, and we can paste it down here, because none of this requires information about what's going on over here to process. And then we'll have RMS processor v4 and we'll have PC, we'll have LPM X, and that's it. Okay. And we'll get rid of command 1 for now. We'll just call it command. But it might come in handy later. So let's run that and see what happens. Okay, it's all done. The entire map is now the mangrove shallow. Well, that's not right at all. So let's take a look and see what happened. Oh, we didn't create any lands. That's not right. Did it throw an error? No. Didn't throw an error. Aha. It didn't write command because we changed to K. Okay. So let's run that again. All right. Better. So you can see that we have attempts at land creation here. Who knows what order they're being placed in, but they are here. But it's really not big enough, is it? Well, dang. Perhaps it's not sufficient. I mean, it kind of looks circular, right? Perhaps this is not sufficient here. Because we're just creating a single point. But we probably need to do more than one point. We need to do more than one point. We need to specify that this have a larger base size. Oh my, what a mess. We can't make it take a larger base size, even though that's really what we want. Go in here, and we can see that it's randomly placing DLC Water 5 in some places. but it's just not enough. It's getting overpowered by the rest of the lands. So there is one more thing that we can do, though, and that is that we can specify, we can kind of trick it into thinking that every time that it basically changes one of these terrains, that the land position manual around that is invoked, so that this does not try to place any more lands manually around that water. It's our best shot of doing this simply. So we will say LPM, and we'll call it expanded, but it's really not quite expanded. It's more LPM FP for Fishpool. So we'll say that's LPM FP, and we have to initialize FP before then. LPM FP is equal to LPM expanded, which is just an empty matrix for now, but is equal to LPM FP, and then we're going to add the coordinates of whatever it's changing. So let's look at IOI here. So we can just take like 1, for example, and PC of j comma 1 is 64. So what if we use the curly brackets and we just get a proper number out of that? So we can copy this here and then paste that down there. So 1 and 2. So we'll basically trick it into thinking that it's supposed to be avoiding placing lands next to these DLC Water 5s. And if that doesn't work, we could probably expand that even further. But I don't want to do that just yet. Let's run it and see what happens. Oh, shoot. We didn't comment that out. Oh well, it's fine. It's already done. Alright, let's see how this looks. Alright. So it's not going to place it because technically the exact points that it's at are disallowed, so therefore it's going through and it's removing all these points. So we need to say CRD, CRD is fine. Coordinate is this, just like that. And we have another function called LPM shadow, which kind of like expands the impact of this. It like moves it out in X and Y directions, just a little ways. So we use this function from time to time, actually. It's kind of strange. So LPM shadow. There it is. Let's pull that up and take a look at how to use that. Okay, so all that we have to do is pass it the 2 coordinates and the base size associated with it. So LPM shadow and I don't think this is going to work. So let's actually get this stack first. So we'll put this down here, because I've done this before. So we need to do LPM fish pond expanded is equal to, now we do LPM shadow of LPM FP, and then we'll do ones. We'll do 1 times ones of length see if IOI has a specific length here. Whatever, we'll just find it. IOI, comma 1. And then we need to do LPM FP expanded equals itself equals really the set difference between itself and LPM FP. Okay. So we should be able to expand this with this guy right here. So right now, watch this. So LPM FP is a 16, and when we run that, when we expand it, it's only a 16 again. So we need to maybe do 2. Point is, this should get bigger. There we go. So we did 2, and it's now 144 points instead of 16. And then when we run this, we're removing the original points from it, but we're keeping the points that we want to remove that are adjacent to it, so that the other stuff doesn't get in the way. Oh, right. So we need to do columns or something like that. Rows. Hold on. Let me look up the help for set diff. I've done it before in other scripts. Yeah, rows. So let's rerun this. Okay, notice how it's not 144 anymore, it's 128. So the fish ponds expanded. Okay. Fingers crossed that this is the solution. Okay, let's comment that out. Okay. It's just not clean. It's just not clean. Look at that. I mean, I don't even know if it's possible to clean this up with terrain manipulation. You know, if we're better off using a different beach terrain here and just layering on top of it. Let's take a look at how big the fish are. Totally reachable. What, this is the only normal looking one right here? Maybe there are two normal looking ones. The rest are too choppy and ugly, unfortunately. Well, I think we're back to circular variable lands then. Let's comment this out. Okay. Put that there. Comment it out, run it, get it back to where it was, and then we will proceed with the circular variable lands. All right. And expanded. We could have expanded it more, but we could have told the other ones to avoid that as well. It's possible that we did not exhaust all of our options, but I don't think it was that great. So we'll do this instead. The budget for it. So this circular variable lands, it needs to happen after the other lands. And we need to put the CVLs back up. Circular land 1. What do we say the water was? 5 or something like that? Let's check. believe it's calling CL. No, CT, okay. Well, I don't know where the CT comes from, but that could be part of the reason why we had problems with it earlier. Maybe I shouldn't have abandoned so easily. Okay. All right, so we got CVL, and it'll all be capitalized. Base elevation, 0. Base size, 3. Delta, 0. Offset, non-cell, 45. Angular distance to centroid of the teams, 180. Seed angle, 0. Team bias, 0. The radius, 15. Eccentricity, 1. Okay, and it should come after the command. We have one command, but okay. Oh, we had no ellipsis here. That's unfortunate. Hopefully everything still got included. Okay. CVL. Okay. Let's comment that. All right, and then we'll tweak these numbers if it's not working properly. Hopefully that's all we have to do. No. So it's just outright refusing. What the heck? All right. Well, what's wrong here? Base elevation, base size, and delta. Base elevation of 0, base size 3. We'll change that to 2. And delta is 0. Offset is 45 degrees. Angular distance to centroid is 180. And then seed angle is 0. Bias should be 0. The radius is 15. And the eccentricity is 1. So it should work just fine. Let's just check something here real quick. What's it doing to eccentricity? I'm just curious. So it's calling it in coordinates. And it's just passing it directly there. What do you mean you can't find coordinates? If you can't find coordinates, we have a problem. Because I need this function. Okay, so it's not getting past land positions, and that's why they appear to be completely broken. All right. What is our Create Player Lands version 7 using? Let's take a look at that. So eccentricity. Okay, it is also using coordinates. So what? This function just doesn't exist anymore? Oh, wait a second. Coordinates got moved inside of this function. Okay. That would make a lot of sense. Coordinates and angles both got moved inside. So the reason it can't be found is because it's not an external function anymore. So let's, then in that case, why didn't it just say the function is not defined or something? Why does it let me believe that the function still exists somewhere? Okay. I need both of those. And we're going to paste those into circular variable lands so that we have them. Angles. Oh, they're already there. What do you mean you couldn't find them? Well, we'll replace them anyway. They're probably the same, but we're already here, so we might as well. Okay. So let's increase this to like 50. Or not 50, but like 30, maybe. And let us comment out manual land prefix and just set MLP equal to empty matrix for now. And let's try running it again and see what that does. So we're not going to have create player lands. Maybe the create player lands are somehow interfering with these circular lands. We also increased their size. No. CT1. I don't know. All right, let's try removing the other lands entirely. So let's comment this out. Oops. So we'll just do MLA is equal to empty matrix. Copy this, and then we'll comment that out. We'll just have that equal to CBL. All right, and I think that will be it. So that should remove everything except for CBL, which are here. Okay. So let us try running. It's just BS. It's like it's choosing the positions randomly. It's like it's not even recognizing the land position. What happens if I start increasing the base size? From 2 to maybe something else. So let's increase the base size from 2 to like 10, something that somebody would more reasonably use for a player land. Still, random dispersion. It's like it's doesn't even care. It's using S for the position of the land. That should be fine. There's nothing else in here that could interfere with that. It's the right terrain. It's just not placing the lands. Hmm. These two are trying to be in the same position if S1. CT4 and CT5. Something's just not right. Same with this one. Yeah, I don't know. The point was to get those uniform fish ponds. Well, we can move away from this again, because I don't think I can fix this today. Let's just close that to show my resolution. And we will once again get rid of this. The second time, we keep going back and forth between the two. Let's uncomment this. Oops. And we'll get rid of CVL for circular variable lengths. Okay. So, you know what we could do, actually? And this is even easier. I'm not sure why I didn't think of this before. But we have the rounded rectangle here. We could create a line. And we could create actually several lines. Yeah, let's actually let's just do it. RMS CPL. Let's take it from another script here. Just the Landscribe. Just a classic Landscribe. And we're going to call it like I don't know, deep fish motif or something like that. DFM. So we'll actually copy this. And we'll just paste this up here. Oh no we won't, because we need to we need some priority here. So deep fish motif, and let's copy this again because we forgot to paste it in. Okay. So let's go like -10 to like -8. And maybe have no rotation. And thickness of 2, I would say. Give that a try. And this one we're going to call DLC Water 5. And the base elevation is going to be 0. It's going to be centered around the center. And remind me what that next one is. That's good. Right. That's the angle. Angle 0. So we want PC, but we actually want DFM to be prioritized over PC. So this DFM is just one of them. And let's run that. So this will create a line somewhere, but the line will be very short and stubby. CBL is, oh right, let's get rid of that. I think we're done with CBL. Something's going on with that, and it's beyond the scope of today's efforts to try to resolve that issue. Okay. All right. So it's a little thick, and it looks like, oh, our manual land appendix did not apply, but we're headed in the right direction. So let's reduce the thickness to maybe 1. And we have to get rid of these. And we will uncomment these so we can use them again. Okay. There we go. So we could probably move that out a little bit. It's looking good though. So we'll do like -9 maybe. And we'll seek a thickness of 0. Let's run it again. And once we get this how we like it, we'll do lots of generations. All right, let's see how it looks on tiny size. All right, even on tiny size, it's still all right. We can push it out a little bit further, -11 maybe to -10. That's a little smaller, actually. So -10 to -9. Keep it that way. Okay, so for j equals 1 to 10, and DFM is equal to nothing. And the angle we're going to set equal to J minus 1 times 36. Come on. Here we go. Okay. And then we're going to have finally DFM get expanded every time it does this. So it'll be sweeping through all those different angles. And we should have one at every 36 degrees. Okay? That might be a little much. This is a tiny size, though. So we could do 8. And we could do 45. Now, is there any way that we can clear that up? So, in other words, can we use terrain effects let's comment that out. We will create terrain. DLC water 5 from base terrain GB. Spacing the other terrain types 1. Alright, now if we kept this seed, could we at least clear some of this junk out? No, we cannot. Okay. Maybe that's the wrong type of terrain manipulation. DLC new shallow. Yeah, that should work. No, not really. We got this ugly beach sticking out over there. I guess, does it really matter too much? Yes, it does. Alright. Reduce this to 2 players since we're on a tiny map size, first of all. I would like to boost that radius a little bit. Maybe it's not reasonable to do them at 45 degrees. Maybe I need to do them at 60. Then some people won't get fish, though. Won't get their own. But I can't have them too close together, I think. A little bit of gunk here. Hold on a second. I should still be able to clear this up after everything. So let's come down here to the end. None of the rest of this affects that. And we'll just create terrain, DLC water 5. From base terrain, gravel beach, space and other terrain types 1. I should be able to clear that up. Yep, there we go. So I don't know what it was exactly. I think 6 is a good number. Now we could randomize these lands, but I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to randomize the fish within these deep pools, these deep pool areas. And there's also technically a layer of beach. So let me get my wall out here. Technically there's a layer of beach here. So we have to put down a terrain blocker on that so people can't dock that or build walls around it. But we can definitely make that happen. Okay. So that is good to know, and I'm happy with this. I think we should be able to get that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fish to be in the center of that like it's supposed to. We'll put lots of food in it so it'll be fun. And it'll be great. Alright. Oh, game crashed. That's okay, because I'll just relaunch it. So, all that took was 6 hours, well, maybe like 7 hours, of fighting, and then eventually finding the best way. But that's dedication. Holy crap, how is it midnight already? Oh my gosh. The funny part is that the rest of the map script is actually going to be super fast. That's the amazing part. You can spend hours and hours fighting to get one small feature. and then just finish the rest super lightning quick. Isolated lakes, where are we? Tiny map, 2 players. Here are the isolated lakes. Let's clear out a bunch of the junk that we don't need in that terrain generation section. This is fine. We got forests everywhere out here. It is technically a nomad start, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, in the end, this is what I decided to do. It's sort of funny that this was like my solution in the end. It's just going to be a pizza shape, if you will, lands in the middle. That's all right. When in doubt, just throw lots of lands at it. Okay. So let's get rid of all this garbage. We don't need the terrain masking to be first. All right, let's look at this then. Create terrain, DLC, new shallow, base terrain, gravel beach. Okay. What happens if we comment this out? What's this getting us being right there? I'm skeptical it's getting us anything. Yep, nope. So this needs to happen after the first one. Okay. Scaling. And then uncomment this. And let's do spacing to other terrain types. Well, we had spacing to other terrain types of 3. But if we have spacing to other terrain types of 3, then you know, we can wall stuff off with docks. So what happens if we change spacing to other terrain types of 2? Or even 1? Let's see how it looks. So let me just look at and think about this for a second. If you have space in other terrain types of 1, then that means that in theory, player 1 could build a dock here, and then he could build walls from that dock, and he could build walls here. So in theory, player 1 could wall off his side of the map, you know, with another dock, and so on and so forth, right? I'm actually okay with this, though, because if player 2 did want to bust through here, let's say that player 2 had military units attacking this section, player 1 would not be able to wall behind it. So it's very easy to break through your opponent's walls here. Technically, you can wall it all off, but it would be expensive, I think. I think I'm okay with this. Hopefully Sizu is all right with it as well. Okay, so we got the mangrove shallows down. Let's see. We've got terrain masking over it. We're masking the mangrove shallow over DLC water 5 too. All right, yes, I see it there. You could even okay. Maybe mask something different over these pools. Like we could maybe mask DLC new shallow, although I think we tried that and it didn't work. Let's try again. Yeah, no, it didn't work. Whatever. So we're going to create mangrove forest too. DLC mangrove forest. Base terrain is going to be DLC mangrove shallow. Land percent of 1. Number of clumps. Let's do a lot for now. And no terrain mask. So we might need to do a spacing to other terrain types though. Let's check out the dock placement. Yeah, you could still place docks. It's fine. And it actually makes it a little bit easier to wall that way. But if it's a nomad start, I also don't want players building their town centers in the center of the map. Let's see. Building town center. Which they can do right now. So it needs to be a little bit more densely packed. So maybe we need land percent 2. It's a little bit more fun. Or we could do land percent 1 maybe with spacing other terrain types of 1. Spacing other terrain types of 1. Town center is technically buildable still. So there are some places where you can build your town center. All right, what about space and other terrain types of 2? Still should not be enough for the town center to be buildable. Ooh. That looks good. Ugh. Still buildable. In some locations. Alright. Land percent 2, space and other terrain types of 1. Let's see that. So you could build a dock out here. But no town center. So docks. It's kind of far to travel, actually, for the fish. And maybe a little inefficient, too. But that's part of the fun. I think they'll still go for it. Be interesting to hear what people's opinions about it. Obviously, they would prefer to build their dock right here, but that's not going to happen. But if I load the ponds full of fish, oh man, that's going to be so annoying. People are going to be building all kinds of docks to get that fish. We should make these mangrove trees worth a lot of wood too, so they're hard to remove. Need siege onagers to get rid of them. But overall, I think that's a good setting. Okay. Good. Then we're going to convert that DLC wet beach to DLC gravel beach. Create terrain. Oh, technically this doesn't belong here. We could just call it pond layering. And call this one up here central pond layering. The central pond. Problem is that you're not going to want to put too much stone or gold in here because it really could block things. We could dial it down to 1% and then have the rest of the space be taken up by stones and golds. It's another strategy. So we'll modify that later. Okay. So we're going to do player ponds now. Central, I shouldn't call them ponds, I should call them lakes. They're lakes. Central lake, player lakes. Create terrain. Let's create gravel beach. From base terrain, DLC wet rock beach. Land percent 100. No space in other terrain types. Let's just get rid of it. We've done what we need to do in the center lake, so now we can turn this all back to gravel. There we go. Okay, and then we can make it shallows just by repeating this command. And then we can make it water. I'm not really sure why make the players start in a transport ship if they're just going to load up and go one way or another. I guess it kind of makes this a little more mysterious, maybe harder to explore. You can't send villagers in different directions. You have to choose one direction for your villagers. I don't know. Maybe it's fine. So let us put water now. Create terrain water from DLC new shallow. Space and other terrain types of 1. Oh, actually, no, this is just straight water. That's right. From what I remember, Caesar said, just make it water. So that's what we're going to do. GB. You can wall to these lakes, but you cannot necessarily wall to the inner ones here. Okay, there's the water. And now we're going to create terrain DLC new shallow. Base terrain water. Space and other terrain types like 3. Maybe even 4. Perfect. Oh, what's this? It's a gunky section. That needs to get cleared out. We need some more of these. There we go. Okay, and let's mask that. So we are going to create DLC new shallow mask over, or DLC water 5 over the water. No spacing to other terrain types. And then let's also mask that over these shallows. Actually, we have to put that up here too, so that the shallows are uniquely masked. We will create terrain. DLC water 5 over DLC new shallow. Didn't work. Oh, we're not masking properly. Terrain mask 1. This needs to come over here. Terrain mask 1. So let's mask just water over those shallows. Still not behaving. Oh. No spacing to other terrain types. There we go. Got it. So you can still have land units on it. They can't walk to the outside. So this kind of forces you to choose a side. Your villagers can't all walk one way. See how we look on large size with 8 players. And I think we're going to call it a night there. Assuming it all looks good. Nice. Yeah, I mean, we could scale that to the map size, but there's not really any point. It does the job. There aren't going to be any fish in this pond except small shore fish that you could take. But even then, there won't be that many. Most of it will be the deep fish in these bigger ponds here. Which I am very confident that we can get the proper fish on these. But I'm too tired to do that now. So we will do that tomorrow. But at the end of the day, I mean, it was a pretty simple solution. Just brute force it with lands. Stop messing around with unique player lands or anything like that. with replacing certain lands. Just this. That's what it's for. So thanks to everybody who tuned in. None of you probably. But it was kind of a late stream, and I was frustrated the stream before. But this is real progress here. This is a good pattern. Having the fish organized this way will be a good thing. So thanks everybody who tuned in, and I'm going to end it here. We'll go in and we'll put the fish in, we'll put all the other objects in, we'll get all the terrains finished up, all the masking. I think we did a lot of work with the terrains already. Make some final decisions about the bog area in the center, and then we'll be done with Isolated Lakes. I'm looking forward to playtesting it with CZoo. Good night, everybody. Thanks for being here.